Hey, so we need to talk. WC19, that is a standard for wheelchair occupied transport safety. I'm going to explain what this is and why it potentially affects you. Um, my eyes have been opened to some things that are going on that companies are doing with our safety, and I don't think anyone knows about it. So, this is my brand new Quantum Forefront over here. I was crawling around into that thing the other night, getting everything set up on it, adjusted perfectly, and all that stuff. I noticed this little sticker on the side of it, and it's well, here, let me just show you the picture. I was working on another video, but this situation with the occupied transport safety has gotten stranger and stranger as the weekend has gone on. And I feel like it would be irresponsible to not talk about this as soon as possible. I don't have answers yet, but people need to know about this. I noticed this sticker, which is, I know it's hard to see, but it's a van that looks like it's moving, has a picture of a person in a wheelchair with a red X through it. Now, when I ordered this chair, I made sure it was occupied transport compliant. As it turns out, there is a difference between having tie-down loops or tie-down brackets, transport brackets, on your chair for when the chair is occupied or unoccupied. Most manufacturers, apparently, in years past, put the transport brackets on the chairs, and it's designed for the chair itself to be held down in a moving vehicle. They were not rated for someone to be sitting in that chair while it was in a moving vehicle. So back in like 1998, 2001, ISO came up with a standard for this. I'm not going to go into the full details of it, but essentially this is the ISO standard. This is the version for 2012. But basically this goes into wheeled mobility devices for use as seats in motor vehicles, because crash test ratings are done based on the seat that's attached to the vehicle. The manufacturers can't expect you to be safe when you're sitting in something that's not part of the vehicle that they didn't design. And people realized, oh hey, when you're in a power chair, you need to go places. And getting out of your wheelchair when it's in a vehicle is not always something that is possible. Think, for example, the train, the bus, medical transport, little minivans. I understand some people can do it, but a majority of people that are in power chairs are not going to be getting out of their chair when they get into a vehicle. So this standard here, I'm going to put links to all this stuff down below. This standard here was kind of the thing for a while. Yeah, see, this one says here, publication date was in 2008. 43 pages, pretty dry reading, but it goes into all the information about that. Well, they decided that they needed to update that and make it more stringent and more safe. So ISO and RESNA got together and they came up with something called WC19. And this document here, which I'll also link below, basically goes into a whole bunch of stuff. It's pretty intense document, but the key part we can look at here, I think is on page 2 or 3. Here we go. This is on page 1. Statement of RESNA's position, right here. It is therefore RESNA's position that wheelchairs prescribed for individuals with the inability to transfer and which will serve as a passenger seat in motor vehicles should demonstrate they can be effectively secured and provide effective occupant support under the same frontal impact conditions used to test occupant restraint systems in passenger cars, child seats, and all that. So basically they're saying there needs to be a standard for when someone's sitting in a wheelchair, and it needs to be the exact same standards as motor vehicles have for their built-in seats. Now, to my understanding, I have not compared WC19 with ISO 7176-19. They're fairly similar, I believe. Now, I haven't looked at the specifics, so you guys can do your own research on this, but there is a difference. So I'm crawling around under my wheelchair. I see that sticker, and I immediately called Quantum, and I was like, hey, Quantum is Pride Mobility, by the way. I immediately called them, and I was like, hey, why is this sticker on my chair? Before I ordered the chair, I checked with you guys, and you said that all of your chairs are WC19 compliant or occupied transport compliant. For the sake of this video, we're going to call WC19 the same as ISO 7176-19 and occupied transport compliant. I realize they're different, but just for the sake of this, we're going to call it the same thing. They said, and they're like, oh yeah, all of our stuff is. So I order the chair, it shows up, and it's got these stickers on it. Well, the stickers have a number on them. I punched in the part number. Turns out they also have stickers for occupied transport. So something about this chair is different. It doesn't meet WC19. I call Quantum, give them the serial number, and they're like, nope, doesn't meet it. And I said, okay, what do we do now? They said, oh, we have to send you a new wheelchair. We can't retrofit yours. The parts are so deep in there that it's better for us to just send you a new chair. I was like, okay, that's kind of strange. At the same time, I posted some things on Twitter because I started realizing through a little bit of research that a lot of people's chairs are not occupied transport compliant, which means you're running around in chairs in motor vehicles and buses that don't have the proper crash test ratings. So Quantum sent me a DM in response to some of my messages. I'm probably going to have to crop this a little bit, so my face might be missing because I don't want to dox the other people I'm chatting with here. They said, we understand you're frustrated. Do you know for sure that the provider selected the WC19 option when they submitted the paperwork for your chair? Also, did insurance cover the cost of your chair? Insurance don't cover optional items and accessories. At this point, I realized something was seriously wrong. Safety is an optional accessory. And not only that, but insurance won't pay for upgrades. Why did you tell me that all your chairs are compliant, but neglect to leave out the part that it's a paid upgrade? So as it turns out, you have to pay $275 to make your chair compliant. No big deal, right? I'm like, okay, that's not that expensive, whatever. It seems like it should be included, but there's a little part where you guys sort of misrepresented. Now, this is from the actual order form on Quantum's website for the forefront. If you notice here, you've got the occupied transit option. It's $275. There's a kit with a part number. But over here on the right, it says to determine if your chair is WC19 compliant, please refer to this website. And they send you to a third-party website. Now, to me, this says, okay, I'm going to look at this website, and it's going to tell me if my chair is compliant, which would negate needing this part if it is compliant, right? That's what a reasonable person would say. So let's look at the website. Let me scroll down here. We've got a big list of all the manufacturers and all the chairs. So we scroll down here to Pride Mobility or Quantum or whatever they're calling themselves. Here we go, Pride Mobility, Quantum Rehab. And we can see here, forefront with TB3 static, tilt, recline, tilt legs, basically all of the options here. And then it says here, occupant weight limit, yeah. WC19, full WC19 compliance, there's an X. Whoops, let me move my face. There we go. There's an X right here to tell you that it is compliant. Now, they have another thing on here where there's an option to order a wheelchair anchor lap belt provided on the order form. Doesn't show it on the website. Now, to be WC19 compliant, you have to have a belt that attaches to the chair that is like DOT approved and rated. So we're looking at this website they just sent us to, and it's like, oh yeah, this chair is compliant. No big deal. So why on earth would we need to buy this option? I put a poll on Twitter about this, asking people, hey, have you ever been in a wheelchair inside of a moving vehicle? Because it seems like to me that everyone who uses a wheelchair has been in a moving vehicle sitting in their chair. We've only had like 48 votes so far, but as you can see, most of them, the options yes, almost every day, yes, not very often, no, it's never happened. 0% for no, it's never happened. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Quantum, why are we saying our chairs are compliant when there's actually a paid upgrade? But then when you try to pay to do that upgrade, it's super convoluted and misleading. And your website doesn't even basically give you the opportunity to know for sure if it is. So this continues. I get some more DMs from Quantum. They want to know who I am and who my provider is, which I'm not planning on telling them because, well, let's just say I've gotten some phone calls. People have been trying to find things out. And some people that know me and people that are also having troubles with certain providers or manufacturers may have called me and said, hey, just so you know, people have been talking. So no, I'm not going to tell them who I am. They can figure it out if they want to. But we're looking at, look at this. We're looking at the conversations on Twitter. We want to set the record straight with you. Although Permobil does offer occupied transit loops standard on their products, they are not tested to WC19 standards or RESNA standards. WC19 has a very stringent rules, grammar, that the wheelchairs must pass to be WC19 compliant. So why are they deflecting? They're talking about Permobil now. So I replied, so you guys are saying you're better than Permobil. Got it. So why do your order forms reference an external website to find out if your chair is compliant? There's no mention of it anywhere being an optional upgrade. And basically the same things here. I understand your urge to talk trash about other brands, but then why not be transparent with your own customers? And why not make this standard? Aren't customers' lives worth a $275 upcharge? Almost nobody gets out of their power chair in a vehicle. This is common knowledge. They reply again and they're like, oh, we need a screenshot of the order form that you're referring to. The one that I got from their website. They can't find it apparently. The reason we don't offer the WC19 Occupied Transit as standard is because not every wheelchair user wants it or has a need for it. Every individual's different. Let's say 20% of people in power chairs never ride in their power chair in a moving vehicle. Your option's $275. Why on earth would that not be standard? Let's talk about Permobil. I gave them a call. They emailed me some documents. I'm still waiting on an official response back from Permobil about WC19 specifically. But Permobil, since like 1998, 2001 era, all their chairs pretty much have been occupied transport rated via more than one ISO standard. Now, WC19 hadn't been invented back then, but Permobil's like, yeah, we want our people to be safe. So if we look at all the models here, the C300, so the C300 is the chair that I was in when my van tried to kill me and I hit a tree going 45 miles an hour. No offense, Permobil, but that's the crappiest chair they have ever made. I personally like it. I'm actually sitting in one right now. It works good for indoor use, but it's not stable. It is not safe. But it is occupied transport rated. And this chair saved my carcass in that accident. Yeah, it was using an easy lock system, not the four-point tie downs. But I would argue this chair doesn't even have a frame. It has a galvanized steel stamped sheet metal battery box, and everything bolts to that. This chair did fine, and it does have an ISO rating. So why is Quantum saying, oh, ours is better than yours? Permobil's included this. Now, I'm not trying to get into brands saying one brand's better than the other. My thing here is, what's going on with this? Why are manufacturers now not including this or not making it known to people? Like, is our safety really not that big of a deal? I don't understand this. I don't think people know that there's a difference between having transport brackets and occupied transport safety. Check with your manufacturer. Call them up and say, hey, are you WC19 compliant? Or at least, do you have some sort of ISO rating for occupied transport? If nothing else, I mean, you need at least that. Right now at this point, I don't have any answers for you guys. I've got this couple documents from Permobil. There's an obscure third-party website that Quantum points you to, which apparently that website is legit. It is University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute. Apparently they're the guys that head this up. And this particular document, I'll link the Google document down below, but this document is the list. Like, you're required to be on this list if you're selling chairs and you're WC19 compliant. So as 1994 as this website looks, it's actually the go-to. So you can look that up and look at it if you want. But I'm still waiting to hear back officially from Permobil. Quantum, they've been trashing Permobil and giving me the runaround. I got a hold of my DME finally, and I guess they told them, well, Quantum told them that they won't even let them install the parts. They won't ship them the parts. So they're trying to find out if they have to crate this thing up and send it back to them so they can modify it. Apparently Quantum just wants to send a whole new chair, which makes me think, how crummy is this thing? Apparently it's some sort of bracket that connects the back of the seating to the power base. Now I've taken this thing apart. The power base is solid. The build quality on this thing, I mean, Quantum in the past, old school, good. Not so old school, This thing, it's a tank. The actual transport loops and brackets on this are the frame. The back ones are sort of welded partially, well, they're fully welded on, but the frame is partially part of the transport brackets. The front ones, however, are the frame of the chair, and everything else on the chair is welded to that. So looking at the thing and looking at the seating, it looks solid. So I wouldn't have even thought about this compliance safety thing, but apparently, I guess I'm being dramatic, but there's an issue with the compliance where the seating could shear off of the base in an accident. So that's why they have to add this bracket. The problem I have is that weird little difference where they're not willing to put their name on it and say, yes, this is safe. There's a sticker on there that says you can't sit in this thing while you're in a moving vehicle. We didn't include the thing that makes it safe, and you probably will be safe, but we're not going to put our name on it. So what is that little disconnect? I understand here in America we have lawyers. Other countries, for example, like TA power chairs, I know some people in other countries that have talked about them, they flat out tell you you are 100% safe. Well, as safe as you can be in a crash, but they're like, don't worry about it. Make sure your chair is tied down, make sure you've got a seatbelt on that's attached to the vehicle, but we've got you covered. You're safe in our power chairs when you're in a moving vehicle. And I'll link below, there's a YouTube channel. It's Doll Engineering. They're sort of an alternative to Easy Lock, which they have a bunch of crash test videos, which are not 100% applicable to this because they're using a docking station instead of 4 straps. So a lot of the actual crash tests would look different if you had 4 straps versus the docking station. But it's interesting to look at some of the different chairs and see how they respond in a crash. But there's a $275 thing missing from this that makes them say it's safe. How am I supposed to feel about that? How crappy is it? Why did they not design that in? Was the chair already designed and then the standard came about and they're like, oh shoot, we need to make a retrofit to make it better? Or did they intentionally design it saying, oh, we're going to make one version that's not as safe and one that is safe? There's just so many questions. I've got a couple of clips here. Actually, let me see if this file's done transferring. But since I drive from my chair and, ride the bus and everything else, we need to, that needs to be on there for safety.
I totally agree, but once again, I did make a call on Friday to find out about what these parts were and the different pieces and everything. So are they physically restricting you? I mean, I get the idea of feeling better about having a part like that on, and I will research to find out if it's available to do after the fact. But is anybody, are you restricted from doing anything?
Well, no one's told me that, but if the chair says it's not rated for occupied transport, that's kind of a safety risk.
Yes, I agree with that statement, but you realize that up until about the last year or two, every chair was identical in the same WC19 testing on power chairs. There's only something that's, relative in the last couple of years. I guess I would further that question up. What about Susan in a Q6 Edge 2 from 3 years ago? So is anybody restricting you from actually using it? I mean, because once again, I don't know exactly what we would do at this point. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you mentioned a Q6 Edge 2. I actually know a lady that has one of those, and she sheared the transport brackets off more than twice in a transit bus.
Yeah. Well, I think we all agree that probably transferring to a seat is the best way to go, but not everybody can do that, maybe even yourself. So I'm hoping that the bus company isn't making you move, because I guess I would ask, what about Roger, the high-level spinal cord injury that needs to take public transportation? Nobody's moving him out of a seat. And what if his chair is a little bit older? You know what I mean?
So Permobil has had, it wasn't WC19 because that's a fairly new standard, but there's been previous ISO standards that Permobil has met for quite some time. And they recommend, if possible, for you to get out of your chair, but they say you are safe to use it, with the proper tie downs and everything. Quantum, on the other hand, is saying, no, absolutely not. Do not sit in your chair in a vehicle under any circumstance unless you have the proper upgrade kit. So to me, that just says...
And that's when you made the call. That's when you made the call. Do you have the name of the person that you spoke to? Because if it's in the technical department, I guess I'd want to hook you up with a little bit more educated person when it comes to the liabilities of their seating systems. You know what I'm saying? Like, who do you talk to?
It was some guy.
I have never heard before in all of my years of working. Like the way you just said it, and once again, I factor in the fact that you're moving somebody's sentence. You're telling me about something somebody said to you, but I've never heard that before. I've never heard that strict of a requirement on something like that.
Oh, it says that in the manual. I mean, if you got the stickers on the... Never heard that strict of a requirement. Let's pull up Permobil's manual. Now, obviously, this isn't Quantum, and Permobil is, in fact, rated for occupied transport. But, okay, now I'm going to have to crop way in on this so I don't dox everyone. But right here, this is the clip from the Permobil F5 manual, the newest one. When you, they have the ISO ratings, but they still say this. Permobil recommends that users not be transported in any kind of vehicle while in their wheelchair, unless the user is in an approved wheelchair configuration, has a secured wheelchair using a Permalock C, the seatbelt is attached. The only other safe alternative is for them to be transferred into a factory vehicle, whatever. It says basically, use is prohibited in motor vehicles, even though that it's okay. So I find it strange that this person I'm talking to on the phone is like, oh, I've never heard anyone say that before. Why is the sticker on my chair? And they told me flat out, I gave them the serial number. I said, is this chair compliant for occupied transport? And the guy said, no, it is not. And we can't send you the parts because it's so far deep in there, we have to get you another chair. I don't remember the guy's name, but that's exactly what he told me.
Well, I'll find out what parts and pieces are available. In the short conversation I had on Friday about it, they aren't going to let us do it here at the store. So if they were going to install this part, which I haven't even seen a schematic of it yet. Yeah,
neither have I. I don't even know what it is.
The bracket in the back or something like that, then that would be a job where you loaded your chair up on a pallet, and not you, but your chair went back to them for this thing to be installed.
Yeah.
It is an option. Under further research, it's an option on the order form. It's several $100s. I've never seen an insurance company pay for it, or I've never had a client responsible for it. I think it's a little outrageous, but I get, the direction that you're trying to go for safety and stuff. I mean, I respect that for sure, but I think you're touching on every type of transportation, and I respect that for sure.
Yeah.
I think when you go into an evaluation, when you go through the order form, you start talking about cushions and backs and headrest and, hey, how's this thing going to better my life? The transit option part of the order form probably gets overlooked more often than not.
Well, it's $275, so if I have to pay for that, whatever. I mean, I would rather just have it and know I don't have to worry about the seating shearing off the base.
I think that's extreme. I'll figure out what they're going to say to me. Like I said, they were going to do some research this week. The guy that I spoke to couldn't even find schematics on it. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll wait till next week and I'll touch base with my client.
Yeah. Well, and the people we're dealing with, I just want to make sure as far as legal liability is covered and safety, I'm good to go. Personally, I've looked at the chair and it looks super solid. Like, I mean, I wouldn't complain. But basically, I'm going from the standpoint that they're saying no. Legally, it says no. So safety-wise, I'm like, okay, I've got to get this basically set up so that they are saying, yes, you can do this. So that's where I'm coming from, and, the safety, obviously.
From the manufacturer, yes. And my initial questioning when I got you on the phone was, I really hope that you're not getting some pushback from TriNet or Greyhound or friggin' Alaska Airlines talking about, this, that, or the other thing, because the first thing I was going to do is have you make them show you a document. And about the time you ask them for a document, it all ends up going away because they don't have any documents and they don't have any restrictions. And if they did, they would enforce it down a lot more people's throats. And I think the WC19 stuff is fairly new, like I said, in the last couple of years.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
You know there's people out there in your community, probably friends of yours, that are driving chairs that aren't at that level.
Yep.
And are you going to start, banning people from taking public transportation because you set the bar so high on all of these chairs? And furthermore, how could you ever verify it other than making a guy like you pull out his owner's manual or call the manufacturer while you're sitting on the bus and have them on speakerphone say, hey, my chair is in WC19 tested? It's kind of a little bit...
Exactly. And that's the thing, like the standards are kind of different. WC19 versus the old ISOs are obviously different. But I think basically it comes down to the fact that they're saying, no, you can't do this. And then it makes me wonder, okay, well, what's the safety difference? I mean, we're talking in circles here, but yeah, I think you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think they're worried. They're worried about what you might do to them.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
they're worried about not being able to go back to them. So I mean, it's a give and take with them for sure. So give me some time. Let me work with my rep and figure out kind of what the answers are under this and formulate a plan. That'll take a little bit of time, but I'll get back in touch with you.
So that's where we're at right now. The DME providers know that everyone's out there in chairs that are not safe for occupied transport, but what are we doing about it? And I kind of get the excuse from other people too, like in the manufacturing side. I'm not being specific about who I'm talking about, but essentially, well, everyone else is doing it. What's the big deal? Gee, I don't know. So at this point, I don't have answers for you guys, but you need to know about this. And I think the more noise that gets made about this, respectfully, whether it's just calling and saying, hey, I would like to know if my chair is either WC19 or at least occupied transport safe. I think the more that this is said, the more it's talked about, the more people hear about it, the more phone calls and emails that are respectfully and friendly made can help. This is something that's got to change. We can't just be putting people in chairs that they're not willing to put their name on and say, yeah, this is safe. I mean, what is this? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's all I've got for right now. There will be more to this video. This is going to be a series, apparently, when I find out what's going on and when I get definitive answers back. I'm going to talk to Amy Systems. Pride and Quantum are the same thing. Permobile, I'm in contact with them. There's Sunrise Medical as well, and I'm sure there's others I haven't thought about. But if you're wondering about this, call your rep, call your manufacturer, talk to your DME provider, see if they can provide some paperwork about it, because this is a big deal. It really is. I'll give you guys an update as soon as I find out about anything. There's been a little bit of a ruckus occurring on Twitter. My Twitter handle link is down below if you don't follow me on there. Quantum may not be the happiest with me. I'm not putting words in their mouth. In my opinion, I feel like there's a little bit of deflection going on their part and talking about other people and not willing to admit things. But that's all my opinion and pure speculation. I'm not defaming anyone. There was no libel. Okay, I'm going to hit the stop button because I've talked long enough. Do your research, guys. Make sure you're safe.